And when it's time for people to come in because we have questions, we'll pull folks in. How about that? And I think we are live. Yes, we're live. Hello, beautiful people. How are y'all doing today? It is officially 2023, and we are back with another episode on season 2 of Drama Free Black Love. And I want Dr. Alicia, go ahead and tell the people who you are, what you do, and why you do it. And then I'll introduce myself.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new year, 2023. I am Dr. Alicia with Coaching with Dr. Alicia. I am a social worker, a therapist, and a college professor. And we are here today to talk about drama free Black love in 2023. 2023, be drama free. Here we go.
Yes. And I am her co-host. My name is Jasmine Stith, aka the Pretty Plug. I motivate, educate, and inspire people to be all they're called to be simply by walking by faith and launching their gold. Now, listen, when it comes to your gold, we want you to have gifts in every area of your life. And in that area, it also comes with love. We are lovable people. We were put here to be in community with others. So why not also get the tools and the information you need so that you can have drama-free Black love? And just a little bit about this show, everybody. It was brought because we wanted to highlight what it means to like actually understand therapy, how therapy goes into like the love and relationships aspect, also healing, transparency, and having compassion when it comes to dealing with other humans that you're trying to love, and whether it be platonic or whether it be just friendships or romantic, all of those things. So we got a couple topics that we want to discuss today. The first thing is, what is the 2023 vision for drama free Black love? The second thing we're going to do is talk about like our overview of the topics that we'll be doing for the year. And then we're going to talk about our 23 vision for ourselves between Dr. Alicia and I. And then we're going to ask y'all some questions for the guests. Are y'all good with that? Obviously, it's an anonymous yes. And if you're on my Instagram, shout out to y'all. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So, Dr. Alicia, what is your vision for 2023? What have you been thinking about for this year?
I started off, well, first of all, I ended 2022 completing my New Year's resolution from the year prior. I wanted to read 22 books in the year 2022, and I finished. And so that was something that I'm just proud to say that I'm one of the 7% of the people who actually complete their New Year's resolution. Now, what's interesting for 2023, I was thinking, gosh, you know what? I've always wanted to learn Spanish. And I never think that it's like that you're too old to learn something new. So I'm of that opinion. But every time I get into Spanish, I've been thinking, God, I want to read more books.
Yeah.
So I think what happened. Okay, first of all, I'm that type of person where I'll go to like half price books. Y'all remember that story? Does this still
Yeah.
happen?
Still around. Half Price Book is still around.
Half price books. I would go there and just buy books, and then go again and buy books. So I would have like all of these books. I would purchase books on my Kindle, and then sometimes I would also have like audiobooks, but I wouldn't get through any of them. And I was really frustrated with myself because I have a love of learning. That's part of my personality. I just love diving into content areas, like specific content areas. I can get like hyper focused on one area and know everything there is to know about one little tiny subject. I don't know if I'm a savant or something like that. I don't know what the issue is. So I was like, gosh. So anyway, I got all angry because my pile of books that I had said I was going to read and never read, I got really frustrated. So I said, you know what? I'm going to finish 22 of these. So I pulled 22 of them out, and I was just like, powered through these books, and it was like joy in 2022. It was all joy for me because it was just like, leave me alone, I'm reading a book. And that means a lot for a busy mother.
Yes.
2 jobs and all of this. It forced me to take time for myself because I would be in the bathtub reading, I'd be on airplanes reading. You can't, at a certain point, you got to shut all your electronics down. So I'd be in the airport reading. I would be on my Peloton. I love my Peloton, but you're just kind of riding your bike. So I would be there reading. And so it was just wonderful to carve out time for my space, for myself. Now, 2023, I'm trying to think like, okay, there's a lot of goals that I do have professionally.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to learn Spanish. And for me to learn Spanish, I have to put reading aside. And so I don't know. I'm still kind of thinking about it's the end of January almost. Pretty soon it's going to be the end of January. We're in the middle of January, so I got to come up with something. But I have not been able to still put my books down. So I think I might, I don't know. I have to think about what I'm doing. But in terms of love, what do you want? You want to know about Black love? In terms of Black love,
Yeah.
me
What's
for
your vision?
2023. I mean, I'm in a good space. I feel like I'm in a good space. I want to continue a lot of the work that I have been doing in terms of like being able to my reach audiences, being able to convey my point of view. If we've talked about it, my point of view in terms of Black love, we need more of that information out there. And so
Yes.
I feel good about it professionally in terms of Black love, and in my personal life, I feel really good about figuring out and learning about all of the loved ones in my life and making sure that I am a support system to them. I am completely transparent. Like, it's interesting because we talk about transparency, but I really am that way in my life. I am totally honest and okay about my fears, about things that I hope for, things that I want, and I just feel good about being able to talk about the things that I need and things that I'm willing to give.
Yeah.
So that's where I am with Black love personally, my New Year's resolution and my vision for 2023. What
Okay.
say you, Jasmine?
So, I'll do just like you. In 2022, when I started the year, like I struggled to create a vision board. I was talking with my friend Jordan Reynolds, and he's on social media and stuff, so he'll know. We were like, okay, Jasmine, both of us, we just need to do a vision board. So we went on Canva and we just threw some stuff on the wall. Like we created it, it was digital, and we were just like, no matter what this year gives us, we're just going to keep trying. We have both had very unique years in 2021. And I want to say by mid or around like Marchish, me and my best friend Gail, we had came up with this word elevation. And I carried that in. I was just like, I know 2022, I want to elevate. Now, how I wanted to elevate, that technically had nothing to do with me. I feel like half of last year was just like going with the flow, learning that I am not in control of my life, but also like to just be okay with the things that happen and to go with it. So, between elevation and not even starting the year being too intentional about all of my goals, all of my dreams, all the things that I wanted to achieve. By the end of the year, I was creating a whole bunch of content, whether it be with you, Dr. Alicia, or hosting events, being at different conferences, meeting a ton of people that are just actually just doing things with their life, I'd say, and just continuing it out. So I say what's different about this year is that I actually created my vision board in October of last year. I was like, I really want to be intentional, but I'm just putting some stuff out there. And it had everything to do with like social media, being like a traffic expert, and then also chicken. So being able to make my Lovebirds brand really grow. So between those two things, that's like from a professional business standpoint that I want to achieve. But my word for the year is intentional.
Ah,
That's my word, intentional. And I said, I don't want to do things in a haste. I don't want to have to speed to do things. I don't want to be rushed. I want to actually be intentional with the people that are around me, with the conversations that I have with myself, the conversations that I have on the internet. I want to be intentional about like how I am distributing my energy, because I noticed like I can be in a lot of different places at one time, but like, do I need to be? Do I have to be? And just being intentional with my thoughts too. So intentional with every area of me. And that includes in love and relationships. I don't think I've ever approached my love life as not being intentional. But I think one of the questions that I have at the very end is just like, you go between someone saying like just let it happen and let it come to you, which is technically not intentional, to, well, when you get it, then you need to be able to manifest all of the great things. So my word for this year is intentional. I want to take my time. I want to focus on like being very specific in how and who and what I do this year, and for as much as I can control. So that's my 2023 energy.
I like what you're saying. I got some comments on it. By the way, I am on Instagram and I did put a request.
Oh, are you on there? Let's do
No,
it.
I think if I turn the sound down, then it won't echo. It won't echo. But I
Yeah,
don't know
let's see if
if
we
you
can
hear me.
turn the sound down. Because if
If
we
I
turn the
turn the
sound
sound
down
down,
on
could
Wednesday
people
here,
hear me though?
they should be able to. Let's come on in there.
Okay.
All right.
Can I turn the sound? You hear an echo, right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
turn it down on your phone.
Okay. But I can still be heard, right?
Yes. Yes, so we gonna let that do what it do right
Okay.
there. We're gonna be right here. We're gonna
Okay.
see
All
how
right.
this goes.
Okay. So I just listened to you talk about what you want for 2023. Okay, intentional. I like this intentional word. It sounds as if you are interested in being more mindful. I hear a lot of mindfulness. Um, like when you say, I want to be intentional with the
It's
conversation.
echoing too. It is
Is it
echoing, Dr.
echoing?
Alicia. Yes,
I can't
this is
turn it.
so
Okay,
funny to me.
I
This
can't,
is
won't
so
let me.
funny.
All
You
right, is
can't
it?
turn it no more. I think this is so funny. Everybody gets to see us trying. We're trying so hard over here on Instagram, y'all, to give y'all something. We're gonna
Okay,
get it together
I turned
today.
it down,
Mm-hmm.
but you can still hear it a little bit in the background. We're
Yeah,
gonna
it's.
continue.
I'm
Okay.
just ignoring it. Yep.
Okay, so what I heard you say was it sounded like you were going to be more mindful. Um,
Yeah.
Conversations with yourself. Do you know how key that is? To pay attention. In the therapy world, we call it self talk. Pay
Yeah.
attention to the dialogue you have in your head. And so many times, the dialogue is so negative.
Mm.
The things we tell ourselves, it's so funny because I almost feel like, and I feel this way with a lot of my clients. It's like I wish you could see yourself the way I see you. I wish
Yes.
I could give not even just my clients, but just people in general. I wish I could give them the confidence to know that everything is going to be okay, no matter what. And those
Yeah.
conversations that you have with yourself, it's like doom and gloom. Worst case scenarios go through your head. How could it not? I mean, there was many people, even in my family, they get so worried and they start to like their anxiety kicks up and they get very worried because they sit and watch television all day. I'm like, turn
Mm.
your TV off. I wish I could prescribe you turn the TV off. Like, I think it's important to know what's going on in the world. That's one thing. But the second thing is like not getting engulfed into all this negativity that's in not only social media, but all of this negativity in terms of world events and politics, and you're gonna die of this and die of that. It's amazing. Anybody who tunes into that stuff can leave the house. So anyway, what I think is interesting is the conversations you have with yourself. I love that you said that was the very first thing that you said. That was the first thing that came out of your mouth. And
Yes.
the conversations you have with the people around you, a lot of it comes from some of the conversations you have with yourself about who you are.
Yeah.
So that is like, where'd you come up with this, Jasmine? Where'd you come up with this?
I just recognize like a lot of time, I'll just think about it like this. I spent a lot more time, I want to say, with myself. Even though I was very active on social media and I definitely talked to a whole bunch of people, there were a lot of moments last year where I was, I'm by myself. Like, I'm single. I'm an actual single woman. So I don't have nobody that I come home to at night. So it's just like I had to like give myself pep talks, and I had to give myself affirmations, and I had to, tell myself like I can get through really hard things. Like last year
Mhm.
was challenging to say the least. And I
Mhm.
had to continue to remind myself that I can get through hard things, and I can be the support that I give everybody else. I can be that to me. And I think that's how I came up with it. I was like, what if I gave all of the things that I give to everybody else to myself? Whether it be I'm telling them how good they are. I'm telling them, I'm
Mhm.
giving them the extra motivation they need. I'm helping to inspire them. What if I gave all of that back to myself? And not that I won't ever do it to anybody else, but what if I did it to me first? Which is again being that intentional and being intentional with the things that I say. How about I give it to me? I don't got to give it to everybody else first. Let me fill my cup up. And I think that's really important because not every time will you have people that can pour into you or add to your cup. It's not a 24/7 thing. So if you're able to do that for yourself, then as you begin to go out into the world, prayerfully you'll be able to attract people that also can fill into you because you know the qualifications of what it takes for you to fill into you too. So that's kind of where I came up with it. It's just like if I love myself really good and I give myself like the things that I give everybody else, then when someone else comes along, even from a romantic standpoint, I'll be able to say, this is how I'm already loving me. This is already how I'm giving to me. This is how I'm already serving me. And I should be able to like attract somebody that can do that too. I don't know. It's just my thoughts.
No,
I'm just
it's
sitting here thinking.
really good. I know. I'm just saying that's really good because if you start paying attention to the conversations with yourself and pouring into yourself and having that great dialogue in your head that's confident, you will carry yourself this way. It's gonna show. How could it not show? It's
Yes.
gonna show. Like you know when someone has issues with self worth. You can
Mm,
just tell by the way they behave, by the way they act. Anybody who talks down to other people, they have a
mm.
lack of compassion for other people. They don't have compassion for themselves.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
good.
and so you can see that. So this is look at you, Jasmine. This is
Yes.
it.
And I really like what you said too about your goals on how you were like, you actually set out to read books and you did it. And how many people are setting goals right now and it's the 17th or 18th day of January and they've already given up on their, I guess, New Year resolutions. And actually picking something that's sustainable. Like you actually love to read and you like to work out. So I'm proud of you because you actually did that on top of being a mom, on top of being a wife, on top of being a therapist, on top of having jobs, on top of all the other things that you be having to do with all of you that you come with. And you decided to take your brand even more seriously last year. And then you still found time to read. Like, girl, you need to tell us how you really did that one. That's some work life balance. Okay.
Well, I started to learn, or I started. Listen, it took a while for me to get to this point,
Yeah.
but for me to have that New Year's resolution in 2022, it required me to put myself first.
Mm,
A lot of moms, a lot of working moms, busy working moms and wives,
yeah.
who take on everything in the household, putting yourself first. This putting yourself first is the last thing you do.
Yeah.
Okay, so what this required me to do was it required me on a daily basis to set aside time just for Alicia. And
Mm,
these kids, I don't know if people know, if y'all know what I'm talking about. Kids will pick at you. Children are insatiable. They want their mama around them all the time, and it's insatiable. But the kids ended up being third on my priority list. So it requires you to make priorities. So you got to make yourself a priority. Then I have to make my marriage a
mm.
priority. That's comes second, believe it or not. And then the third would come the children, and then the fourth would be my work, right? And then
Mm,
fifth is everything else, extended family, maybe
that's
that's
good.
it. But what was happening for me for many, many years was that work was actually coming from taking up all of my time. Then the kids were taking all of my time. My marriage wasn't taking hardly any, of my time. And then I was really not giving much of myself because everything was on work and kids for the most part. And I suffered because of it. So many years of getting it backwards. I've learned that I need to really put myself first. That does not mean that I have to spend 12 hours a day putting myself first. It doesn't mean being selfish.
Yeah.
It just means, okay, putting myself first means I'm going to carve out a half hour, and I only did it for 30 minutes a day. I would exercise and I would read at the same time. So I figured out a way I carved out 30 minutes a day to exercise and to read. And a lot of times I did that at the same time. I spent a lot more time taking bubble baths instead of showering at the end of the day. So it was like bubble bath, reading, exercise on my Peloton most of the time if I'm not going for a run, and reading. So it wasn't like I was putting myself first 24 hours a day, but I was carving out just enough time doing things that I was normally doing. Like exercising is putting yourself first. Eating a good meal is putting yourself first. Like I can't carve that out to anybody to do.
Yeah.
And then really making sure that my marriage is pretty strong, but it takes work to keep it strong. It ain't easy being married to Boyce. I was talking, we actually did a panel over the weekend at the oh gosh, I can't even remember. I need to remember the name of it. Multifamily Intergenerational Wealth Conference.
Okay.
Right? So we did that, and I was talking about, how it's important. Your marriage has to be important, but it's not easy being married to somebody who's really high strung, and I'm high strung. Sometimes it's not easy. So really putting a lot of time and effort and making sure that continues to be strong, because that's important to me. And then I have to, of course, give to my children, and so very little. So a lot, but anyway, that's what 2022 required me to do. It required me to create this harmony in my life, and I want to continue that into 2023. I don't think I was able really to accomplish it like I wanted to accomplish it before now.
You saying something. And I think what I hear, and I think there are some mothers that are listening, there are some wives that are listening, there are maybe even some husbands and some fathers that are listening right now. And what I gathered was you gave to yourself first, and you learned how to give to yourself first. And giving to yourself first didn't look like you're selfish. It didn't look like it took 10 hours. It looked like I gave to myself first. I love myself first, which helped me to love everybody else around me from a cup of an overflow. And I think whenever we're thinking about love, we always think about what we give and what we give. You actually can give better, and you can give the best you when you love you first. So I really admire that you found 30 minutes a day. And I think it's probably a habit now. Like you can do 30 minutes, you're probably up to an hour. The older your kids get, you be like, hey, listen, the mama need an hour. Don't be coming over here talking to me right now. I need to give to me right now first. And then it teaches them, oh, well, mom gives to herself. What can I do to give to myself? And now everybody's in the house having this self-love moment, making sure that they fill themselves up first before they go out and try to give to everybody else.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
I love that.
Mhm.
Again, tip that I'm hearing is give to yourself. No matter if it's 30 minutes a day, no matter if it's an hour a day, give to yourself first. The next thing I want to talk about is drama-free Black love and how we plan to really give to this platform this year. So as y'all know, we meet every Tuesdays at 8 p.m. CST. And our three pillars that really make up the drama-free Black love is transparency, healing, and compassion. And I want us to break those things down, Dr. Alicia. When it comes to transparency, what comes to mind, especially when it comes to Black love?
Okay, transparency. Like we had a whole conversation about how we came up with this. So I'm trying to remember what
We
you
had
said.
we had goal planning, y'all, before.
Sure did. I love the transparency part because I think it is, in order to be transparent, you really do have to be comfortable with yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to be comfortable with not only yourself, but your flaws.
Mm.
And I don't get it right all the time. And I make mistakes, and I laugh. A lot of it I laugh at, most of it. I feel like, oh man, I didn't even update my Instagram. It would be me to not have an updated Instagram. And you probably can set your phone where it updates your social media. It probably updates your apps automatically. I bet that's
Yeah.
an option.
It's an option. Yeah. Dr. Alicia, like, I
So
missed that memo.
So there you go. It's like it's the whole transparency. It's not being ashamed because we come from a place where all of our all of the things where we're lacking and where we're less than, we feel like so ashamed of it. And
Yeah.
we feel like embarrassed. Like I'm it takes a lot to embarrass me at this point because I really am transparent with a lot of people and with a lot of important relationships in my life. I try to be as transparent as possible. I mean, I'm not into like TMI. Sorry, there's a fly moving around. But I'm not into like too much information transparency. I'm going to be an open book and just tell you everything. But if you ask me a question, I'm going to, even if I don't feel comfortable answering that question or I don't feel comfortable going there, I'm going to be transparent enough to say that's something I don't feel comfortable talking about. So
That's
transparent,
good.
being open, it just really means the things that are important to you, not being ashamed of it and really standing in that. So the transparency piece is a piece where you just know and love your flaws and love the things that you're good at and having confidence enough to make a mistake. And if you do make a mistake, I'm not going to be shamed enough not to say, oops, I'm very sorry. I'm going to try to do better next time.
Yeah. I think I love that. And just to add what you're saying, I'm in complete agreement. I think transparency comes with honesty, even with how you feel or how you make someone else feel, or, maybe you've gone through this experience with yourself or with someone else and you're able to like have a real talk conversation. I think a lot of people are very surfacey, or
Yeah.
like when you talk with them, like you're not getting their full self, you're getting like maybe their representative or what they think they need to be in order to be accepted. And I think what you and I have in common is we don't really show up with a facade. Like today, we don't really got our Instagram and this little stuff together. Like, let's be clear. This Facebook, Instagram journey, we going through this live with y'all. We giving it our all, okay? And we could try to put up in front and be like, oh yeah, like we know what we doing and doing all this streaming stuff, but like that's still something that I'm even developing within myself on how to make sure all these platforms get touched at the same time. And so, at any time if somebody wants to be our assistant and help us, I'm gonna just put that out there. But anyways, I think it's like knowing that through your honesty and through you not being perfect and just being vulnerable, like you're helping somebody else to see that dang, people really aren't perfect, and like I don't have to be perfect to be accepted, and I want to be accepted for the fullness of me, not for this picture perfect thing that people may see. I know how to put on some makeup, but god dog it, that's about as fake as it get. If I'm adding anything extra, everything else is like, yeah, what you get, what you see is what you're gonna get. And I want to live my life that way. So I feel like I love transparency as being a pillar for drama free Black love. Because if you could be transparent with yourself, I know you could be transparent with your partner and any
Mhm.
other people that you have in your life that you are so called to love.
Yeah, and being transparent is so less stressful than trying to hide who you are. It's hard.
Yeah,
I mean, it is when you have like hangups, or if you have like Carl Jung would call it your shadow side and all the triggers or things that
yeah,
get you going. It's you create these personas to cover up some of the things that you're ashamed of. And I guess it's okay to have a persona in a sense, as long as it's deeply connected to who you are as a person. Like to create a persona that's outside of who you really are, that's where it becomes problematic, and probably you could go into some really crazy places in terms of your mental health when you start living a lie. That's what that's called,
yeah.
living a lie. Anyway, yes,
And
yes.
so our second pillar
Yes.
that we really want to hit on this year is healing. So, in order to be your best self, in order to, I think, love, in order to have drama free, do it without a whole bunch of drama, it will require healing. And I think that is where Dr. Alicia is one of our most beautiful assets to this show, is walking us through the different segments of healing, walking us through how to heal properly, how to get our mind, our thoughts, our emotions in order, how to think good things, and how to become the things that we think. And all of it should be positive, and creating space for yourself. So, healing is very much so necessary, especially if you have come and you've had bad relationships, or, you're somebody and you're like, I don't believe in love no more. Or, all men are this, or all women are this, or this world can never be better in this. It took, last year was my healing moment of believing that there are some, last year was my year of just truly believing, hey, we can have good black love, we can have good relationships, like it can happen. Promise you. Before that, I was on my jaded journey, and somebody on Instagram was saying that they having some feedback, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, y'all. I don't even know how to fix it. But overall,
So they can hear us. People can hear us.
yes, maybe if I mute myself and then they hear it from you on your side, maybe that'll fix it. So you don't mute your Instagram, I just muted mine. Maybe that'll fix it. I
Oh,
don't know. I don't know. It could or could not.
let
Um,
us know. Can you hear us on Instagram?
yeah.
Can they hear us?
Can y'all hear us? Put a yes in the chat.
Let me type it in here.
Yeah, I think this is so funny.
It is.
I am gonna have to figure out how to stream on two different devices. I'm gonna figure it out.
Can they hear us? It seems like if
Yeah.
they. Oh,
Okay, David said it's better now. Okay, perfect. They
yeah,
said
we can be
yes.
heard. Okay, all right.
Okay, good. So, oh,
Okay.
just back to it, is just healing. Is believing that it can be drama free, that you can have a partner that loves you and that you love your partner, and it can be healthy and you have a whole relationship. And, if you aspire for marriage and all those things, like, it's going to take some work to believe that it can happen, especially in this day and age. Because the narrative, the communication, the social media, the what makes the headlines is all the things that are not healthy, all the things that are not drama free, all the things that don't represent potentially what Black love has the potential to be and what it has been. So, that's my take on healing. What about you, Dr. Alicia?
Yeah, so research tells us that science tells us that healing happens in the brain.
Mm,
So when all of those things, everything that you just laid out, when all of those things happen in our life, because it's a mind body, we all know it's all connected. When all of those things are happening in your life, there are major changes in your brain
mm,
in
yeah,
terms of the fight, flight, or freeze, fawn, all of these things happen. And in that, you are able to self regulate. You
mm,
are able to have control over your emotions. That's
yeah,
how you know healing has happened.
mm,
So, no matter what has happened in our past, in our background, we have to be able to take all of those painful memories, because it doesn't have to be trauma.
mm,
Trauma is when you never talk about it, you can't speak it, you can't articulate it, you're just unregulated individual who is constantly seeing the world as a threat. That's what trauma means, basically. You
yeah,
don't feel safe at all. But when you have those great relationships in your life and you're able to feel safe, a safe place, that's where the healing happens, where you
yeah,
can talk about what's going on with you. Just having a support system alone, where you can have somebody that you can get things off your chest with, someone who can witness. Healing happens when there's a witness of someone else there to hear you. Hearing is healing, right? Someone
yes,
that can hear you helps you make changes in your brain, and it's a biochemical process. You're releasing all of these stress hormones in your brain when you're constantly online, in a sense, where your body is constantly in this threatened sense of state, where these chemicals go through your body and it's destructive. chemicals are released from your brain. It's destructive to the body. It makes you age faster. All of these things happen. Trauma for young girls. Did you realize that trauma for young girls who have experienced sexual abuse, they have their menstrual cycle years earlier than women who don't. So it has chemical changes in your body. I mean, these are fact. This is what science is telling us. So healing comes when your body is able to stay in a relaxed state. If we can get into a relaxed body, we will never ever be anxious, because anxiety and a relaxed body can't exist at the same time. So we need to get in. When you talked about, that's why I love when you talked about this mindfulness thing, about going back to this mindfulness place. You have to come up with relaxation techniques for yourself. You need to incorporate this in your daily life. Light a candle, burn some incense, whatever it is you need to surround yourself around, so that you can make the necessary changes in your brain. And that's when you know healing has occurred. You're not so triggered. You're not fighting with everybody. You're not arguing with everybody. You are in control of your own emotions.
Yeah, that's good. Come on, somebody snap it up for Dr.
No one
Alicia.
else is controlling it for you. That person made you mad. No, the person didn't make you mad. You allowed that person to make you mad. My husband is stressing me out. My wife, my kids are stressing me out. No, you're allowing them to stress you out. What's going on here? How are you participating in that? What's the painful memory connected to what they're doing that stresses you out? Why haven't you connected with those feelings attached to that? Soon as you start ignoring your feelings, I know there's a lot of people who's like, forget about feelings. I don't care about feelings. Those are the most anxious people I know, because they're compensating for how they feel. And if I could take a page from Freud talks about these defense mechanisms that happen in our body. We get defensive, these defense mechanisms. That takes the place of us disconnecting from how we really feel about what's going on.
That's
So,
good.
yeah. Healing.
And
What healing is about.
yes, and Ty's Gym says so true. Thank you for interacting with us, Ty's Gym. People on Instagram, thank y'all for interacting with us and giving us feedback. The last thing that I want us to talk about is compassion and empathy. I
Oh,
think that we're gonna bring up a whole bunch of different topics this year that is gonna require compassion and empathy. We probably gonna talk about some cheating. Probably gonna talk about some people that maybe they have gone out into the world and they've made kids with tons of people, and like trying to analyze how this can even remotely bring drama free black love. I think we're going to talk about hot topics, and then we're going to take a lot of these segments and we're going to say, well, how does it apply to my life? How does it apply to my friend's life? How does it apply to the future relationships that I'll have? And it's going to require compassion. It's going to require empathy. It's going to require us taking a step back and saying, you know what does that person need from me in order for me not to judge them, or for me to think that I'm so above making this decision that they made, because I just wasn't in their same circumstance, but I'm not far removed from something that they could do. So compassion and empathy. Dr. Alicia, what you think about that?
yeah. You know what? I really wish we had way more compassion and empathy in our community.
Yeah.
I am. If I hear one more time, if I hear people talking about um, this person did this and they're wrong for doing that and putting people down, if I continue to hear this, what's wrong with black women? Like an entire group of people have one problem. It's like, what's wrong with black men? Oh, really? So an entire group of individuals is the problem here in this issue. I'm so tired of listening to all of that, because I don't see where there's any compassion and any empathy. And I will tell you, this shows up in my office all the time, especially with couples. There's a lack of compassion for themselves, lack of compassion for other people. They don't want to be empathetic. To be empathetic, first you got to realize that your perspective is separate from another person's perspective.
Yeah.
Okay? It's My perspective is very real to me.
Yeah.
it's also another person's perspective. It's also very real to them. So you have to be able to understand that two different brains, two different backgrounds have two different points of view. So to have empathy means not agreeing with somebody, but it's saying, let me hear where you're coming from. Let me hear your thoughts. Tell me about how did you come up? What evidence did you gather to come up with these conclusions? It's really being curious about another person, stepping into their head and figuring out what's going on with them so that you can know them better. That's all empathy is. It does not mean that you have to agree with anybody. You
Yeah.
know, so and then you have to do that for me. Now it's your turn, to step into me and my perspective. If we're able to do that, compassion can come out of that. Say, good grief. You know what? If I had that background, if those experiences you just laid out, if that happened to me, if that had happened to me, what happened to you? I definitely could come to the same conclusion. It's having compassion, and it's not feeling sorry for someone else.
Mm.
It's just saying people really are doing the best they can given the circumstances that they're up against. And it's just understanding a lot of that instead of pointing the finger and making the other person the problem. There's so much blame that goes on where everybody's pointing the finger, and I don't see any compassion at all. So we're going to add to this empathetic, compassionate space, safe space here with drama-free Black love.
Absolutely. And I think what really happens is, in order for me to see it from your perspective, and in order for me to, see it from your side, and for you to do the same to me, you just have to value our opinion. We got to value each other's truths and each other's opinions. And I came up with this notion. I said, my truth minus your perspective is going to equal miscommunication every time. Like,
Mhm.
your context. If you've gone through something, or if you believe what you believe because it's what you believe, and then also I'm adding my truth to that, and we're never going to really see eye to eye, it's going to be miscommunication, and vice versa. But if it's our truths and our context, then it's going to equal communication. Like, we're going to be able to come to some type of resolution, because you're going to be able to explain to me, this is why you made this decision, this is why you thought about it this way, this is your perspective, and I'm going to value that. And then if the same is done to me, we should be able to have a more coherent world. And again, not trying to revolutionize anything, but I think it just comes from listening and forgiveness, and actually treating someone else like what they have to think and say is actually valuable.
Yeah, and I do think this is the basis for dating, by the way.
Mm,
I really do. I really think that when you're dating, that's when you need to be listening. Listen to what this, because there's value. They're making value statements in a lot
yeah.
of their perspective and where they're coming from. And you got to make up your mind and say, is this something I could live with?
Mm,
Are my expectations too high? I guess we can talk about that. But are my expectations unrealistic? Is this something I can live with, or is this something I just can't? There's no way I can live with this. You got to make this decision. I mean, part of it is intuition, but also part of it is being able to really listen to someone so you know who you're dealing with. But
mm,
people are telling you who they are, but so many people can't have this empathetic, compassionate listening so that you can really go, oh, okay, now I see who you are. I've gotten into your head. Is this somebody you can date? Is this somebody that you even like enough where you'd want to even spend a few hours on a date with?
mm.
So
That's
there's values in there. And so many couples fall into this lust with each other and they don't even know each other very well. And they're like tied together, they get committed and blah, blah, blah. And they never have these value conversations. They have these arguments and it's going awry because they didn't even get to know each other in the way that they needed to get to know each other before they started their relationship. And now they're just bickering all the time because they weren't able initially to be empathetic and compassionate to each other. Compassion does not mean reconciling. Empathy does not mean reconciling. Forgiveness doesn't even mean reconciling. It really means paying attention to what's going on, being mindful about how you feel in this moment. And is this something that I feel like I need in my life right now? Or is this something that I feel like I could do without? Or is this something like I can't live without? You got to be able to have these conversations with yourself and not just go rush in, fools rush in.
That's good. Y'all, Dr. Alicia always gonna drop a gem. She gonna drop a gem because somebody put in the chat, gems have been dropped. Gems have been dropped.
You are funny.
So to wrap up our conversation for today, everybody starts off this year with all these goals, these aspirations, and I don't know why there's an echo. Can you hear that echo?
Is there an echo?
I think it's fine now.
Okay.
But it's just like you have all these goals, you have all these goals on how you want to start the new year. And women, I've seen it on TikTok, they'll manifest their man, they will dream about their man, they will pray their man into existence. They will just be out and about and it just happens. They were changing the oil in their car and their husband walks up to them. So to like end this off with something a little bit spicy, Dr. Alicia, what method do you think really works? Do you think it's just letting it happen or manifesting it or praying about it in order to attract the love of your life?
You know what? You would ask me this question. Which means that I need to have a conversation with you.
Okay.
Because we're pulling out of the cuffing season. And so I want to know
where
people are standing. Who's standing? I think spring is in the horizon. So we got to see
who's about to be, especially because it's about to be a Valentine's Day. People are not sticking in it. If you're not in it, you're not going to get in it.
Yeah. So it hasn't been that cold of a winter here where I am, but it's been something. So I got to talk to you about who's left standing after cuffing season. So you're asking about meeting somebody. What do you got to do? I think you got to put yourself out there.
Okay.
Get out the house. You got to go places and do things and things that you're really interested in. I'm starting to get into like long distance running. So, I mean, that would be a good place. If you're interested in long distance running, that's what you do. Go run a lot of races and your man is there running races, So it's like finding yourself and finding the things you're interested in. So, Jasmine, what are you interested in?
I really like food. I love to eat. I like pottery, like painting activities. On occasions, it depends. I would love to work out. Like I feel like I can have all the abs if I had me a workout partner.
Partner, like accountability partner.
Yeah, like I love to work out, but like I would prefer my man to be my personal trainer because why not? I love self-care things and I love shopping. I like shopping. I love going to the grocery store and shopping. Like I find that super fun. And then I like shopping, like doing thrifting and going places and buying stuff. And then I like conferences. Like I like to go places and learn things. And I feel like that's a love language too.
Okay, so your man is loving the food. He is going to a pottery place, which is really romantic, by the way, to see a guy doing pottery. He is a painter. He is creative. You want someone creative who works out, who likes to shop.
I think there's somebody that likes to shop, like we'll get along. Because I'd be like, yes, let's get that. Let's buy that.
Your man is gay, basically. Let me stop.
No!
He likes food, pottery, painting, working out, and shopping.
Okay, but that's the stuff that I like. So just like again, what are some things that I find?
You do a lot. Let me be serious. You do a lot of wonderful things. You're out there. I see you at conferences. I see you at business conferences, entrepreneurship conferences. I see you. You're doing all the things that you need to do. Just keep going at it, and he will be there. And he'll be heterosexual, not homosexual. He'll be heterosexual, and
I hope so.
He will rock your world.
I hope so. So basically, you're saying like let it happen.
Yeah, get out there.
Okay, so And maybe somebody that's on the live, y'all can attest with me. Again, it's I always try to bring something on TikTok to you, Dr. Alicia.
Okay.
There are literally women on TikTok that are saying, I manifested my man. Like they wrote him down on a piece of paper and he just appeared into their life, and now they're getting married, having kids, and settling down.
Every criteria she wrote down, she found a man that really adhered to every single one.
That's what I'm seeing on the TikTok. So I mean, I guess what you're saying is just like let it happen. I think you're more of the go with the flow.
Well, you don't want to force it because it's like
Yeah.
it gets into like be careful what you ask for. You just may get it. If you get something like that, you're like, oh Lord. So I mean, it you have to pay attention to how you feel when you're around that person too.
Yeah.
If something feels off, you have to go with that.
Yeah.
And it takes you having, when you meet somebody, it takes you talking to your friends about this person.
Okay. I mean,
Gain
I agree with talking
perspective, so you can gain perspective.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I try to figure out like how much to share with friends and stuff, because at the end of the day, like y'all could not even make it, and you would have spent time talking to your friends about somebody, and y'all don't even go nowhere. And so then it's kind of like you got this little stigma that you telling them about a new man every other week, and you need somebody that's gonna just ride or die with you in that journey. Everybody don't be wanting to do that. So
Man, every week, that's good. That means you're getting out there.
but everybody's perspective isn't like that. They're like, some people are like, you dating too much, or you talking to too many people. Focus on yourself. And then there are other narratives that are just like what you're saying. Hey, like dating is literally it's like a job interview. Like you're gonna interview for 10 jobs before one is right, and somebody that'll actually like stick with you in that process. And then we had Young Diggy. He said, I can't mingle. Jesus gonna have to come down and tell me to be the right one. I am so
He's
dead.
gonna find somebody for sure. Young Dickie.
I am so dead with you. Like when I tell you I am just like him, I'm like, Lord, just come and tell me. And then King Solomon said, hey.
Gwen is on. Did you see Gwen's comment in Instagram? She said it's okay dating around as long as you ain't sleeping around. Wait, does dating mean sleeping around?
No, I think dating is actually dating.
Actually, see, I grew up with my brother and all my cousins, and their word for dating means, oh, we're dating. That means we're sleeping together. So, but I like how Gwen's saying dating doesn't mean you're sleeping together. So,
yes,
it's like you hoeing around with a bunch of different men. I don't know. Am I putting you on the spot? I don't think you don't strike.
No.
Okay.
Listen, I'm 28 with no children. That comes from not doing a whole lot. Okay. I'm real sanctified over here.
Let me tell you, I had a friend.
Clink.
I had a friend. I don't even know if I should share this story. I had a friend. I did not know she was a hoe. I didn't know what she was doing with these guys. I just assumed she was too embarrassed to tell me that she was sleeping with all these men. And I remember someone else told me, some guy was like, your friend is sleeping with all these dudes at the same time. I was like, she didn't tell me all of that. She just told me. Well, then I started thinking about what she was saying to me, and I'm naive. I didn't even catch it. I'm like, all those guys, she was actually sleeping around with all of them. Damn. Okay.
She was exercising her options.
She knew I wasn't like that. And I guess she didn't want me to judge. And I was like, God, I got to filter what I say because I don't want her to feel bad about saying stuff to me.
Yeah.
The tea. I want to know what's going on. But I probably would have said something like, girl, you stop sleeping with all these men. But she sure was. She was putting out. And I didn't know till one of my other friends pulled my coattail and was like, your friend is sleeping with all these different men.
Your friend is not.
She wasn't. Then I felt kind of betrayed. Like, how come she wasn't telling me? Like, I wouldn't have done it, but I wouldn't have judged her. I guess she felt like maybe I was talking bad about somebody that was a hoe. So maybe she just She was
She
like,
had her friends in which she could tell that
she
she
was
was
leaving her freak
exercising
alone
options with.
silently. She wasn't letting me know at all. But anyway.
Yes. And we got Gwen's Ma for Life says nothing's wrong with dating people as long as you're not sleeping around. Says date as many people as possible. And dating is taking a walk, going to his home or inviting him to your home. I like that. It's doing stuff outside the home pretty much. It's like as soon as you walk through the door, there's only so many activities you can do in your house. Okay. It's either, cooking or, laying down, y'all gonna start hunching. So at the end of the day, you gotta figure that out. It's watching movies, Netflixing and chilling.
Chilling, you can do that in your house.
It's not that many activities in the house that you can do. So, getting that together. But did anybody have any thoughts on how they plan to approach their dating life in 2023? And I think we did have somebody that wanted to join our Instagram. I don't know if they left. And no, don't invite them to your home, or you can get a person without all of that. LOL. Let's see. Does anybody have any thoughts about how they plan to achieve their 2023 vision for Black love? If not, we're going to cut this episode off. We will be back next week.
We'll be back next week.
Yes, and I've been getting so many DMs from y'all. Dr. Alicia, I showed you some of the DMs. Like people are texting on Facebook and Instagram, and they're just saying, hey, I like this episode. Can you talk about these topics? So please send the topics to us that you want us to talk about. If you want to be a guest on this show, do DM us, and then we can add you so that you can add your perspective and flavor to this. And we are so glad to have y'all here. So great job, ladies. Thank y'all. I'm glad that y'all enjoyed this. Yes. So we will see y'all next week for another episode on the Drama Free Black Love with Dr. Alicia and Jasmine Pretty Plug. Talk to y'all soon.
Bye-bye.